The moment my wife Isabel smirked across the mahogany conference table, I knew. The whispers, the stolen glances between board members, the closed-door meetings, I had seen it coming for months, and yet the betrayal still hit like a gut punch. The board voted. "You're out," Isabel announced smoothly, leaning back with the confidence of a queen who had just claimed her throne. Beside her sat Ryan, my former protégé, the man I had mentored, now sitting smugly in what he thought was my seat. I didn't react. No outburst. No desperation. Just a slow smile as I flipped open my leather portfolio. Check page 391. The tension in the room thickened. Isabel faltered but recovered quickly. "What's on page 391? "The succession clause." My voice was calm, deliberate. "It requires any incoming CEO to have 10 years of executive leadership experience in a technology firm. Ryan, how long? Have you been in senior management?" Ryan stiffened. 3 years. Silence. Matthew, my chief legal counsel and one of the few still loyal to me, cleared his throat. "That clause is in the company's founding documents. Amending it requires a unanimous shareholder vote." I leaned back, and as the majority shareholder, I won't be voting for that change. Panic rippled through the room. Ryan shifted, suddenly unsure. Isabel's confidence cracked, but she masked it with anger. "We'll fight this. The board has spoken." "You're welcome to try," I said, steepling my fingers. "But this clause isn't a technicality. It's ironclad." Matthew slid a folder across the table. "Perhaps you'd also like to explain why over $300,000 was funneled through a private consulting firm registered under Ryan's name." Ryan paled. Isabel's face darkened. "You see," I continued, my voice lower now, "I've been patient, watching, waiting. And now I have all the proof I need. Fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy." I let the words sink in before turning to the rest of the board. For those misled into voting against me, there's room for redemption. But for those who orchestrated this coup, there will be consequences. 3 board members immediately resigned. The others sat frozen, fear etched across their faces. Isabel seethed. "This isn't over." I smiled. "No, Isabel, it's just beginning." She stormed out, Ryan scrambling after her. The remaining board members averted their eyes, shame weighing them down. "Now," I said, pressing my palms against the table, "let's discuss why a special board meeting was called without notifying the CEO." An hour later, 3 more resignations were on my desk. I accepted them without a word as Matthew set their replacements in motion. Back in my office, he handed me a coffee. "How long have you known?" 3 weeks, he admitted. "Isabel asked me to review succession procedures. She didn't realize I helped write them." Of course she hadn't. She had always underestimated me. My phone buzzed. A message from Isabel. "You may have won this round, but don't get too comfortable. There's more than one way to take control of a company." I exhaled slowly and handed the phone to Matthew. "Start documenting everything." This wasn't over. It was war. "You have 2 options: resign voluntarily or face a full financial audit." The threat was subtle but clear. Within minutes, 3 more board members resigned. Those who remained had no choice but to fall in line. By the time I returned to my office, Matthew was already replacing the defectors. I sank into my chair, finally processing it. My own wife had staged a coup against me. Not just a betrayal of our marriage, but of everything I'd built. And she'd done it with another man at her side, as if I were disposable. Matthew knocked, handing me coffee. "Thought you might need this." I nodded, taking a sip. "How bad?" "The board purge stabilizes things, but Isabel is already retaliating." He slid his phone across the desk, an email from her. "To the entire company. Effective immediately, we are entering a new era of leadership. Transparency, progress, and bold decision-making will be at the forefront. We will not be held back by outdated leadership models. I smirked, implying I'm the problem. Classic. Matthew had already canceled her meeting and revoked her access. Should we be worried? I exhaled. Not for the company, but things are about to get messy. The family intervention. That night, Isabel sent 2 texts. You're pathetic. Followed by, if you think this is over, you're dead wrong. I ignored them. Then my father called. By the time I arrived at my parents' house, I knew Isabel had gotten to them first. My mother looked anxious. My father unreadable. She says you blindsided her, my father stated. I laughed coldly. She left out the part where she orchestrated an illegal coup. She just wants to help, my mother said. No, I corrected. She wants power. Isabel had played the victim, planting seeds of doubt. But she underestimated one thing. I didn't just play defense, I played to win. That night, I emailed Matthew. I want every expense report from Isabel's department, every failed project, every reckless decision. The evidence by morning. The tension in the office was palpable. Employees whispered, avoiding eye contact. Isabel had been busy spinning her own narrative. Matthew was waiting in my office, laptop open, a thick folder between us. She wasn't just orchestrating a coup, he said grimly. She was stealing. How much? Over $300,000, funneled through Ryan's consulting firm. I exhaled slowly. I had expected betrayal, but fraud. Maria, my assistant, entered with a tablet. Another email from Isabel. Transparency and leadership moving forward. She's doing damage control, I muttered. She's desperate, Matthew corrected. I tapped the folder. Time to show everyone exactly who they're dealing with. By noon, the entire company knew the truth. The fraudulent transactions, the secret consulting firm, Isabel's direct involvement. Investors, employees, clients, everyone saw it. Her carefully crafted narrative collapsed. The showdown. At 3:47 p.m., security alerted me Isabel was in the building. She was waiting in the executive lounge, fury in her eyes. This is a mistake, Lucas. I crossed my arms. Which part? The coup or the fraud? She flinched. You don't understand. The company is stagnating. We should have gone public, expanded faster. And Ryan was the answer? I scoffed. He was embezzling. She clenched her jaw. You'll regret this. I pulled out a document and handed it to her. Her face paled. What is this? Your termination notice. She whispered, This isn't over. I smiled. Oh, Isabel, it's over the moment I say it is. By the end of the day, she was erased from the company. But I knew she wouldn't stop. At 11:23 p.m., my phone buzzed one last time. You may have won this round, but I'm not finished. I exhaled, then replied with 3 words. Yes, you are. And I blocked her number. The tension in the boardroom was palpable. The polished mahogany table, gleaming under the recessed lights, separated the titans of industry, men and women who thrived on power plays and corporate warfare. Nathan Caldwell adjusted his tie, his piercing gaze sweeping across the room. We're at a crossroads. The merger will either cement our legacy or destroy everything we've built. Across from him, Evelyn Mercer leaned back, her expression unreadable. And what assurances do we have that your firm won't gut our infrastructure the moment the ink dries? A smirk tugged at Nathan's lips. Trust, Evelyn, a rare commodity in this business. Trust is earned, she countered, folding her arms. And so far, all I see are numbers on a page. The CFO, Richard Langley, cleared his throat. We've run projections. Synergies between our companies will drive revenue up by 15% in the first quarter alone. Evelyn shook her head. You talk in numbers, but you forget the people. Our workforce isn't a statistic. Layoffs, restructuring. What's your plan for them? A beat of silence. Nathan steepled his fingers. Efficiency requires difficult decisions, but we're not here to make enemies, Evelyn. We're here to create an empire. Her eyes narrowed. Empires are built on loyalty, Nathan, not just numbers. You want my vote? Show me a plan that values more than just the bottom line. Nathan exhaled slowly, his smirk fading. Perhaps it's time for a private discussion. Just you and me. Evelyn considered for a long moment before standing. Let's talk. As they exited the boardroom, the executives left behind exchanged glances. Deals were made in conference rooms, but true, power was wielded behind closed doors.